Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Jane Joku, senior principal. And as I finish getting dressed to start my day, I want to make a quick video about difficult conversations. As a school leader, this is something that we are always facing. There's not a time that there won't be a difficult conversation, and it doesn't even matter who the key stakeholder it is, who the key stakeholder is. It could be a parent, it could be a student, it can be a teacher, it could be support staff, it could be community members, it could be folks from the district. Difficult conversations are just part of what we do. If you're not comfortable with having difficult conversations, do not become a school leader because it just comes with the territory. There's nothing you can do about that. However, being trained in having those difficult conversations is something that's very important. Some people are just naturally good at having difficult conversations. They've had experiences in the past, professionally, or maybe just, they're just really good at it. Maybe something just comes natural to them. But it's something that, even if you're good at it, it requires practice. It requires self-awareness. It requires knowing when to have those difficult conversations, when not to have those difficult conversations. And what I mean by difficult conversations, those are the things that happen that are counter to the vision and mission of your school. Situations where people are breaking school policies, district policy, citywide policies, not meeting expectations, doing things that are so counter to what needs to be done to be productive and to be moving in the right direction. So these things are going to happen. But however, real briefly, I want to talk to you about one particular level of difficult conversations that most people surprisingly have a hard time having. When I mean most people, most principals. And I think anyone in higher tier leadership, if you're running an organization, for some reason you would think there's one particular stakeholder that it should be easy for you to have difficult conversation with, but most people kind of shy away from it or have a hard time doing it. So what ends up happening, they become passive aggressive rather than addressing issues. And I would say that is difficult conversations with your immediate subordinates. And what I'm talking about here is your assistant principal, vice principal. If you're a superintendent, it might be your deputy superintendent, whoever is your number two. And that it's interesting because usually most people are really nervous about having those difficult conversations because if you're in a typical school environment or even any kind of organization, the number two tends, if you don't have a strong culture and leadership structure, your number two can easily foster the favor of a good portion of the staff. So when you're having difficult conversations with your number two, there's a tendency or fear that they might polarize those who are not quite aligned with you as the number one or leader. So often what happens is we don't have those conversations. If something goes wrong, something is not being done the way it should be, or expectations are not being met, we have a tendency to not want to have those conversations. And if we do have those conversations, we do it in a very passive aggressive or in a way where we don't quite address the issue, or we don't really just kind of attack what the problem is. And things kind of like fester, and things can go awry because the longer you wait to address something, the worse it becomes, and then the more in your feelings you are as a leader because you're like, why aren't they doing X, Y, Z? Why can't they do this? Why do they not understand that they're my assistant, deputy, associate, whatever vice, whatever the role is? And it's because you're not willing to have those difficult conversations. And I'll tell you this real quick. I've had quite a few situations with assistant principals where I had to have the difficult conversations. And sometimes it was in my office behind closed doors, and it got heated, and we had to hash it out. And there were other times where it was like, listen, let's get off site, go get breakfast. I've had the other assistant principal watch the building where I took the one assistant principal that I needed to have a conversation with. We sat and we broke bread and we talked. And we went deep into whatever the situation is. And there are other times where it's a phone call. It's literally a phone call. But the thing is, however you choose to do it, It has to happen because the reality is, I mean, a school cannot have split vision, split expectations, especially coming from leadership. Because when you set an expectation, the community is looking at you saying, this is what you said. But if you're number 2 or number 3 are doing something completely different, counter what you're doing, and even worse, are leading others in their direction, no matter what you do in your school, no matter what you try to implement, it's not going to happen. So it's very important to have those difficult conversations. It's very important to sit down and hash things out, and also be willing to know whether this is going to work out. I'm telling you, because again, the things that you don't address right now will come back to bite you in the butt. So if you have to have a difficult conversation, you must do it. Now, if you are seeing that, whoa, this is not going where it needs to go, then you might need to bring in someone else to mediate that conversation. It could be your superintendent or deputy superintendent or someone in that capacity who can come in there and help you figure out how to deal with this or even mediate that conversation. But the most important thing to not do is ignore it or say, I'll get to it later, because I'm telling you, later will catch up with you. When later catches up, it might be too late to have that conversation. All right, y'all. With that being said, Sucha and Joku, have an amazing day, and I'll talk to y'all later. All right? Peace.